You know what? Audra says we're live, so I'm going to take her word for it because Audra knows. Audra Knight, who is my co-conspirator and co-host on RecFest this year, was great. So thank you, Audra. I appreciate that. Welcome to the power of technology. Someone in Boston is telling me here in Chicago that I am live on the internet. That's good to know. Well, let's get into it. Yeah, I know, right? It takes a village, I guess. Technically, is what it's called.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah. Welcome to Biotech Recruiting Chat. With me this week is Krista Brenner from SRG Talent. Krista and I have, we both are on a board of some sort of committee, or we're chairs or something, of the Association of Talent Acquisition Professionals. That's ATAP. So if you are interested in talent acquisition and you'd like to meet other TA professionals and network and all do that other stuff, check out ATAP Global, ATAP global.org. So, there you go. There's our ATAP pitch. They didn't even know. They didn't have to pay for that. That was great. So,
out of the goodness of your heart.
I know, if such a thing could be said. So, Krista, thanks so much for being here. Let's just kind of, given the technical and scheduling issues so far for the day, introduce yourself.
I'm Krista. I am the director at SRG Talent over the direct hire division. So we work with life sciences companies across North America. We have different arms of the team. So we have a contracts team, and my team does full-time placements only. So we support our clients with filling those business critical roles that we need to come in. I like to joke that I am the paramedic of the staffing world because I used to be a paramedic many moons ago, many cat lives ago. I've had a few careers, so I like to integrate the paramedic piece to it now. But when they need help filling a business critical role and they've exhausted all their resources with internal TA, they come to us and we use our dedicated focus to find them the people that they need. I'm doing this for about 15 years and I love it. Love all things recruitment.
I have to imagine there's overlap between being an EMT or driving an ambulance and being a recruiter. I mean, they're probably unstated, but for those of you who are in TA, you can probably draw those conclusions pretty readily.
For sure.
Yeah. So, given your position and your perspective on biotech and life science recruiting, right? You're not just talking, you're not in-house for one company. You get to see lots of different companies and how they consider talent, how they think about their own talent challenges, how they see the process of bringing in great people. I've been a proponent for a long time that biotech almost always hires nothing but unicorns, right? They're not hiring just someone who knows chemistry. They have to be a PhD in chemistry with 3 years experience and speak data science and maybe some statistics, right? It's this weird kind of conglomeration. And the demand for that talent means that everybody's looking for stuff like that. Everybody's looking for those weird unicorns. And so they need to do more to say, this is why us, this is what we have to offer. This is what working here is like. So from your experience, how does biotech and life science recruiting differ from non-life science recruiting?
I think with life sciences recruiting, a lot of people are very compelled by the mission, right? They want to know that they're going to be able to participate in something that's going to save patient lives. I reference it back to healthcare recruitment days, right? I wasn't bedside care. I wasn't hiring, or I was hiring the nurses and the doctors and the speech therapists to do the work. So I was many steps removed, but it was very passionate for me to know that I was putting the people in place that were going to save lives. Now it's another step removed with it being life sciences, right? Because we're placing the people who are going to build these life-saving products, who are going to innovate the next medicine. I take it from a very personal level. I get very in-depth with the hiring managers because I want to know what their passions and motivations are. And those are the best clients to work with, right? Where they'll talk about why they're there, what brought them to their path. And then when our team is speaking to candidates, we're also able to convey that to make sure that there's a good match. So you and I have talked a few times about, everyone says, I'm the best place to work, but I'm the best place to work, and you're the best place to work, and that guy over there is the best place to work, and the company that hasn't been invented yet is the best place to work.
Exactly.
We're all the best.
Exactly.
So really, I spend a lot of time peeling back the layers of the onion to figure out what makes them different, what makes them unique. Are they promoting from within? Are they a female-led leadership team? Are they very diversity-focused in a real, true, and genuine way? Do they have tuition reimbursement? So I think life sciences recruitment differs from other fields because you can speak to all of those different aspects of it and really find out what a company's doing that they want to be a part of. That's what I've noticed.
Gotcha. So let me go ahead and just steal a moment for myself because I'm being greedy because it's my show. I get to do that occasionally. What's your favorite question or two to kind of peel back those layers? I think that is such a fascinating process. Most people in recruiting, they kind of have this, they're the fish in the water. They just stop noticing the water. It's just always around them. They don't think about it. It takes someone on the outside very often to ask them that question that they kind of stop and go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Or, oh, wow, okay, that's an interesting way of asking or interesting way of putting it. So what are your favorite kind of go-to questions to peel back the layers?
So you've had the great honor, we'll call it the great honor, of getting to know me a little bit more over the last couple months. And I am very focused on retention and what happens after day one.
Okay.
I think a lot of people separate recruitment and retention, and I really firmly believe they need to be totally intersected. So One of my favorite questions for a hiring manager is, so what does that first week look like for them? What do you have planned for them? And if they stammer over it and they're not really sure what it's going to look like, I say, okay, so let's think about building out this plan, because you and I both know it's very easy to lose a new hire within those 30 days, right? Yeah. So I find that by uncovering what they plan to do with that person can really speak to how they plan to continue developing them, right? Yeah. So I'm peeling back the layer to not just say, all right, I'm going to pass you someone on September 25th. We're going to do a virtual high five and you're going to go on your merry way and I'm never going to talk to you again. I'm almost intrusive, right? I'm the polite Canadian, but I'm almost intrusive. I keep following up. I check in on day one. I check in after week one. I check in after month one. Wow. You're never rid of me. I'm a nuisance that never goes away. So finding out what they do for the first week is something I do to pull back the layers personally. The other thing I do is, what is it that you find yourself really liking about your company and your culture? Oh, well, I actually really like that once a month we get an afternoon off to go take a program and development training course. Amazing. I'm going to tell every candidate that, right? That's something that's real and ingrained to them. If you ask me what I love about my company, I'll be able to tell you real quick. And if it's a reality for me, it's probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be a reality for the new person. So those are the two things that I'll ask a hiring manager to really dig deeper, other than just the job description.
Yeah, it may be, so long as it's a reality to you, it may not be a reality to everybody, but at least it's real. Like that, just the fact that it's a true fact and it's something that you experience and can point to and say, no, this is how it is for me. Honestly, for most recruiting processes, that level of certainty and credibility puts them 2 steps ahead of everybody else, where it's just a lot of yeah, we're a great place to work. We're a wonderful place to work. We're a fantastic place to work. Hey, we have healthcare benefits. Really? Like everybody else, right? It's, I look at benefits pages after benefits pages and I'm like, these are all clones. These are all, maybe, it's a Dolly clone situation, given biotech, but, it's just, they all sound the same. So one of the things that I also noticed, in that vein of sounding the same, is the call on career sites, on LinkedIn, on job postings, this call to biologists, biochemists, data scientists, what have you, to say, join us and you can save lives, whether you say it as positive patient outcomes or, line of sight to patients or make a difference, make an impact. There's 7,000 ways to talk about it, but they all kind of line up in the join this company. We're going to save lives by curing cancer or curing diabetes or curing sickle cell anemia or whatever the heck it is. Save lives, save lives, save lives. Now, that sounds great. Who doesn't want to save a life? But we're talking, for the most part, to people in life science who don't have an option. Is the choice saving a life or developing the next VX gas? Is that really a choice? I don't think it's a comparison. I think wherever they go, they are probably saving lives. Is that, am I completely, don't answer the question of am I crazy? Does that make sense? Do you see it in a similar way? And if so, how do we start to unpack the idea of what's beyond saving lives?
I think for people in life sciences, what I am uncovering in my conversations with them is it's different than just saving lives. That might be the company motto. It might be the hurry up, we need to get this out to market for patients. But I find that people who are truly scientifically based, they want to come in and they want to be part of innovating something new that's going to revolutionize the world, right? I think we get very ingrained on the mission statement of we are going to save lives because for sure, that's why we're doing it, right?
That's why the whole industry exists.
All day, every day. It's why it exists, right? Yeah. I work with people at respiratory clinics who are developing asthma treatments, and I'll say, please do, because my 5-year-old son has terrible asthma. Please find the next greatest thing that will not require me to do puffers all night long. I think when you get down to the science level and the people who are actually doing the work, I think they're really motivated by developing the next thing that's going to change the world and revolutionize the world. So yes, it's saving lives, but much bigger.
Yeah.
And I find that they want to come in and they want to do a good job. They want to make sure it's safe. They want to make sure it's the right thing for the patients. It's marketed in the right way. They're aware of as many side effects as humanly possible, not the infomercials with the 900 side effects that are possible, but
Yeah.
they really just want to come in and do their job great. Yes, it's about saving lives, but I don't think it's the primary thing. So we can't recruit focused on that, right? The
Yeah.
quality assurance technician is not focused on saving a life. He's making sure that his product is safe. So when it goes to market, it is safe, it is proven, it is tested, it's good.
Yeah, I think the potentially apocryphal story of JFK visiting NASA and asking people what they do and meeting scientists and launch control people and, what do you do? And he apparently he met a janitor and said, what do you do here? He goes, I'm helping put a man on the moon. And this connection between, okay, I'm part of the larger team, therefore I am part of that mission. I think we've overblown it a little bit, right? It's like, okay, you're on the QA team, to your point, right? You're helping. But the reason you picked this company isn't to save lives, because you could have picked any company to save lives. You could have picked thousands of companies to save lives. To say it's like picking a detergent based on the label saying we get your clothes clean. It's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
I sure hope so.
I know it's what else am I paying you money for? But I think it's interesting you point out this idea of, that you took it to this next level of innovation. They want to feel like they're making this change. They're developing something new, which to me sounds like an innovation claim. How does a candidate on the outside looking in, right? They don't have access to the proprietary information and all the other stuff that they're not allowed to be seen, not allowed to see. How are they able to kind of evaluate the level of innovation or the likelihood of that innovation being real as a candidate? Is it purely on the recruiter? Is it purely on the hiring manager? How much do you think we should be spelling that out on a career site or joined by a special guest? Fantastic. More interesting than I am. And cuter for that matter. So how do we kind of get into that idea of how do we make that clear to a candidate that if this is an innovative place, how do we prove that that level of innovation is true?
I always hover slightly on the skeptic realm. So I don't know if we can ever fully prove it, right? Until you're in there, you're in the building, or if you're working remotely, you're in those meetings and calls. Like you said, there's NDAs, there's confidentiality agreements. I think you're only ever going to know to an extent. But to your point, I think everyone plays a part in that responsibility, candidate, recruiter, and hiring manager. As a recruiter, I work really closely with my candidates to prep them the day before their interview to say, have you thought about what questions you're going to ask? No? Have you asked them about their products? Have you asked how many are on the market now? Have you asked about which ones are almost to market? Have you asked which ones are in innovation stage? I think that's really important to share with them. And I think there's a way that hiring managers can disclose without giving away the farm, right? We're not asking anyone to come on the internet and give away all their proprietary secrets. But I think there's a great way that you can dig into it. And the responsibility is there to figure out where that innovation comes from. As a recruiter, I try to find out as much as I can of those questions, right? I'm super excited they just launched in a new country, or we know that they've added this job for additional bandwidth because they have 6 products going to market. So I think you have to gauge it your own way, but be willing to ask those questions, because you're right. If you look on every single one of those company websites, they're all going to say we're the next big thing.
Yeah.
Maybe
and they might be. I mean, that's the thing, is they could all succeed. It's not necessarily a zero-sum game where if one, approach or direction or, compound works, that everybody else has, packs their tent up and goes home, right? It doesn't work that way. Kind of on the other side of it, though, I've been noticing as I go through career sites, there has been an influx over the last 2 or 3 years of what I refer to as the designers. And the designers show up and make these career sites look so flippin' pretty. They look like they're just gorgeous. They're sexy and they got cool spinning backgrounds and really interesting designs. There's so much kind of razzmatazz, he says, is a very old person. Apparently that's a word I get to use. I know, right? There's so much kind of like, we're going to do this, and it's all puffery and PR and spin, and then it's layered and these patinas of cool, sexy design that as a candidate, I happen to know for a fact, and in one case I saw this, a candidate said, I had to go figure out who I knew in the company and said, okay, yeah, what's really going on? And that is, I wonder if, are we over indexing on the cool, sexy, design pretty, rather than, look, this is what's going on. And you're a chemist, I can speak to you as a chemist. You're a biochemist, I can speak to you as such. You're a whatever, I can talk to you in the real world without disclosing stuff. And I wonder if we kind of, if the pendulum swung too far that way. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. There's this one expert on employer branding that I read a lot of his stuff. And I think if we invest too much into just our website, yeah, it's great when they go to the website and it's pretty and it's flashy and it's gorgeous. But then we go to their LinkedIn page and they have nothing. And no one is sharing their articles, and they're not sharing any updates on their products that are going to market, right? So we've invested all this time into our website, which realistically, job seekers are on your career website for a very short, limited amount of time. They are not spending hours there. If it becomes so convoluted and complicated that myself, as a recruiter for 15 years, if I can't find your career page, or I have to click 15 different links to get to your open positions, we've gone too far. It's too messy. It's too convoluted. And worse, it's making candidates compare it side by side with other companies that don't invest their all into having this amazing website. And they'll say, oh, well, look at this outdated place. I don't want to work there. I think there's a little too much emphasis put into the website. For sure, they need to look good. They need to look crisp. They need to be informative and compelling, and client testimonials and some pictures if they're true, not stock photos you downloaded off the internet. But I think you need to invest into all of the different types of employer branding, not just one.
Yeah, it feels like the investor proposal just exploded onto your career site. And you're like, well, I can't clean it up, so I'm just going to cover, just put it in there, embed it in there. So I want to close with this question. Given your position, given your perspective on all these different companies that you're talking to and what they offer and what they talk about, what would you like to speak to, in the aggregate? Maybe it's your clients, maybe it's prospects, maybe it's people you'll never work with. What is something you think the industry should be doing differently to really identify who their best new hires are going to be, to communicate with them? What should they, whether it's a channel or a piece of information or just a style or an approach, what's one thing you wish life science recruiting would kind of embrace a little more?
I wish we would see more of not the polished advertising videos that are clearly made for the board of directors, right? We know that they are a part of life. They're a part of companies for the board of directors and the stakeholders, but actually hearing from the people who are doing the work, I think will make a big difference between candidates not choosing a company and choosing a company. Something I did at a previous company years ago was I walked around the building and I found someone and I said, hey, here's what I'm doing today. Will you tell me in 30 seconds what it's like to work here and why you like working with the patients? And these videos were unscripted. For sure, I tried to edit them as a novice video editor, but it made the applications go through the roof. It made attendance at job fairs go through the roof, because candidates are smarter. Yes, there are definitely still going to be some who are desperate for work, but they are smarter now, and they can see those beautiful stock images with the beautiful music in the background and all the transitions perfectly timed with the authoritative Morgan Freeman type narrator in the background, right? We know that someone has paid a ton of money to make this beautiful video. But if I show up in your office and I say, James, tell me in 30 seconds what it's like to work here, and you tell me in your own authentic way, a candidate's going to see that and say, you know what, he's pretty awesome. I would love to work alongside this guy because I can tell he's being truthful. I think marketing plays a really important part, but when it becomes too polished and too fake, we lose that authentic connection with people.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, what we're doing is we're building what I think of as doorways into the brand, not the logo, but the idea of the company. And you can take the Target approach, which is glorious, glossy commercials that all look the same, that have a very similar house style that all look and feel the same. Like, that is a door, and you better like that door or else you're not going into it. But if you're Target, you get to say, well, there's not too many other options. Where else are you going to go? As an employer, I want to hire Asian design students. I want to hire Indian data scientists. I want to hire women biochemists. I want to hire men who are not 27 who are chemists. Like, I want to talk to all of these audiences, and the more they see the door that looks and sounds kind of like them, the more likely they are to go into it. And if we do our job well, once they enter the door, that's our chance to really kind of give them the bigger story.
I completely agree.
All right. Well, Krista, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for joining us. Check out Krista Brenner over at SGT Talent. SRG Talent. There's too many letters. It's just like
too many letters.
Yeah, the Scrabble board. It's just, there we are. SRG Talent. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate you wasting time with me. And to everybody else, let me know if this is useful. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or watching this on YouTube when I archive it, let me know and share and let people know that this is the kind of conversation we're going to try to have on a regular basis. So with that, I'm going to go hit some buttons and say thanks, everybody, for watching.
All right. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.